All right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon and good evening. I'm Rachel. I'm the project manager for the World Crafts Council Europe. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. I see many people are just coming in from the waiting room. So this is the webinar Crafting Identity on Geographical Indications for Protecting the European Craft Sector. I'll shortly be handing over to the World Crafts Council Europe Vice President Cristina Mendes for an official welcome. But just while we wait for people to join, let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. We'd love to hear from you. You can also read here on the screen the agenda that we've planned over the next 1.5 hours. We're hoping to wrap up by around 6:30 p.m. That's Central European time, or 5:30 UK, Ireland, Portugal time. So just a quick few administrative things. The webinar is being recorded and it will be published online on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions for our speakers or any comments, please feel free to make use of the chat on the right-hand side. At the end of the webinar, we'll be addressing some of these questions where we have time. Also, please take 30 seconds at the end to fill out a quick survey that will pop up on your screen, just so that we can hear your feedback and know your experience of the webinar. All right, nice to see so many people joining us. Welcome to you all. All right, I think it's time now. We're going to hand over to Vice President Cristina Mendes. Cristina, we're ready for you.
Sorry, Rachel, can I say something? I think the chat is not open to everyone. Can you please check?
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now the chat is open. Okay, so let us know where you're joining in from. We'd love to hear which country, town, territory. Yeah. Hello, Julia. Thank you. All right, Cristina, thank you so much.
Rachel, thank you. So good afternoon to everybody, and welcome, and thank you for being with us for this small period of reflection and discussion about geographical indications. Last October, the European Parliament and Council approved the regulation on protection of geographical indications for crafts and industrial products. This ends up a long period of trying to build up an uniform European system of protection for intellectual property rights that relates geographical indications for crafts and industrial products. This GI protection, its system, it's an important achievement to all of us that work with crafts and know the value of crafts and the importance of protecting this kind of production. This system will certainly help us to preserve something that is very important as craft heritage, traditional production, traditional knowledge, mastery, and safeguards the European diversity and identity that we have here in Europe. And it's so important, and in so many ways, in some places is endangered. This will be also a very good opportunity to increase the competitiveness of the craft enterprises. Sometimes it's not easy to understand the value of this kind of protection, but very especially for traditional productions that have a strong link to the territory, have a long history and a long tradition, this kind of protection is very important. And to have this system, that it was not easy to reach a common platform, and I believe that Audrey is going to talk with us about this long period of trying to level all the differences that we Europeans have, and to find a common place to settle the protection of these craft projects. It is a very, very great achievement for all of us. So we will have the opportunity to hear from Claudia Martinez from the Intangible Economy European Commission, Audrey Aubard, that is the General Secretary of FFIGIA, that has had a very long work in these issues, and a very important role in this, also this discussion. Also Jean Rodesch from the Special Advisor from the EUIPO. EUIPO will play a very important role in this new system, and we are eager to hear about them and to have some to envision what news this will bring for all of us. And in the end, we'll have the opportunity to have some case studies. Some countries, as Portugal, for instance, we already have some national experience with geographical indications, and we will have the opportunity to hear from Ireland, from Molloy and Sons, and from Nuno Rodrigues, the experience of a municipality in Portugal that has more than 1 GIs, and some time and some experience to share with us of what it is and what difference can a GI protection make in the competitiveness of the production, the protection of the production, the protection of the work of the craftspeople also. And this is our fourth webinar. It's our fourth webinar in the European Bauhaus program that we have been implemented for some time now within the framework of the crafting project that we are implementing within the financing of the Creative Europe program. So I've took too long of your time, and I'm going to pass on the floor to Rachel to present each one of our speakers, and we'll have the opportunity to discuss furthermore the doubts and about the GI protection. So Rachel.
Thank you, Cristina. Thank you so much. All right, so our first speaker will be giving an introduction to this topic. It is Claudia Martinez. Claudia is the Deputy Head of Unit within the EU Commission, DG GROW, in the unit called Intangible Economy. Her unit manages, develops, and enforces a solid European intellectual property legal framework. She has been leading the work on the new EU scheme for geographical indications for craft and industrial products. And in addition, her unit is responsible for developing a strong EU policy on patents, also with the recently adopted patent package, as well as the EU policy against counterfeiting. She does a lot of other work, but Claudia, I'd like to hand over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And first of all, congratulations for putting together this very interesting webinar. Also, in this very timely moment when we have finally the publication of the new regulation on the geographical indications, which is certainly a milestone. I was thinking how to introduce the topic in a manner that could appeal to all of you, and notably since I would say this is like the brother of or the sister of a geographical indications scheme that has been up and running for a long time in the area of agricultural products, as you know very well. And I was thinking that the new GI as we call it, CIGI scheme, so Geographical Indication for Crafting Industrial Product, could be actually assimilated to a beautiful MasterChef cooking recipe. And I was thinking that because, I mean, if you think of recipes, they are not only, tasteful and appreciated, but they need to actually contain all the ingredients without forgetting one to ensure that the overall result is understandable, complete, successful, and appealing for many, while serving as inspirations for others. And this is what we believe now we are rolling out with this new EU Geographical Indications scheme that, as I was just mentioning, was published last 27th of October in the EU Official Journal. So I hope many of you have had already the opportunity to have a closer look at that. Actually, in our view, it's bringing the right level of ingredients, if I may call it that way, because it's holding clear rules in relation to the scope, in relation to the applicant, who can be an applicant, in relation to putting forward an efficient examination and registration procedure, which, as you may know, is based on a two stages level, national and European, is also defining the role of the producers, the interlinks with the international protection, as, for example, foreseen in the context of the WIPO Lisbon Agreement, while it is also introducing these ambitious control and enforcement rules, including offline and for domain names. And you will also agree that it has been long awaited, and it has built on existing recipes or schemes, as I was just mentioning, the agricultural GI scheme. And we also believe it has the potential to inspire other jurisdictions at international level. Hence, from the Commission side, we see this successful outcome as an IP long-hanging fruit. An IP long-hanging fruit, why am I saying this? Because it's been more than 3 decades of heated debate where we were considering if it was necessary and appropriate to come with this new scheme for protecting craft and industrial products. I can tell you that it's been 30 years, so it's since 1992 that we have that protection for agricultural products, for products like Parmigiano Reggiano or Champagne. But we didn't have at European level a protection that could be available, for example, for cutlery, and I'm thinking of the Salamanca cutlery or the Salingen, or textiles. And we will hear, of course, a few examples today, so I will not go into detail, but certainly this is very good news for many producers and products in different regions in the European Union. And this is how we see it. It's a big success, and I think we need to celebrate it in these terms. This new regulation, it's number 2023/2411, for those of you that have not yet had the chance to look into it, will enter into force on the 6th of November. We see this outcome coming from the discussions that co-legislators have had, and it's based in many of its areas on the Commission proposal that was adopted last April 2022. I can confirm, it has already been mentioned, that it's been a very exciting journey, not always through calm waters, with long discussions both in the Council and in Parliament, but certainly the results built on this very extensive consultation that the Commission has been carrying out for at least last decade, and that includes numerous studies, consultations, taking into account the views of many stakeholders and authorities involved, and many of you here present certainly have contributed to what has been summarized, not only in the impact assessment, but has come as results of the regime that we will have soon fully applicable in the European Union. But before I go into the details of this recipe, of this MasterChef recipe, as I liked to profile the new GI scheme, let me tell you and let me highlight the main benefits, why we think this is a milestone, and why we also think this will be paving the route for inspiring other jurisdictions where they don't yet have that geographical indication scheme rolled out. Well, first, because with this new protection, finally, we will have the possibility at union level, because you may be very well aware that certain member states had already national CIGI, as we call them, specific protections, but that was only for that national market. And finally, we will have that at European level, and it will allow us to prohibit the use of the name for similar products which are produced outside the designated geographical area. So in our view, this is a very strong tool to fight fraudulent and counterfeited products. Second, as I was mentioned, this protection is available to all EU member states, and the eligibility criteria, because obviously it does not offer the possibility to protect any craft and industrial product. It has to follow a number of criteria which are being sourced and inspired in the agricultural GI scheme that we have for PGIs. And let me just briefly mention them. So you need to have that craft and industrial product that is originating in a specific place or region, that has a quality, reputation, or characteristic that is essentially attributable to that geographical origin. And thirdly, has at least one production step that is done in that concrete area. Now, once we have that protection granted, what does this bring to consumers? Obviously, it will bring significant benefits, because with the support of what we have put forward as a voluntary logo, which is the same logo that is used in the agricultural GI scheme to ensure we have a common, raising awareness among the producers and the users that are able to recognize that GI protection, the consumers will then be able to identify that this is a product that is authentic, that is original, and that is linked to that geographical area. So we're building on trust. Thirdly, if we think of producers, with this new GI protection scheme, we are actually incentivizing them and supporting them when they're producing these traditional and regional products. It also, by granting that protection, will facilitate the exports, not only intra-union, but also to third country markets, where this may be more appealable, more attractive as being recognized an authentic product. If we also think on the impact of the regions, I think it's important to single out that this economic diversification that EU regions have with this recognized protected GI craft and industrial products will help them as well to still protect the skills, the jobs, the traditional know-how that we see that is carried out together with this type of new, well, not new, but actually traditional products, and that with this will also help boosting tourism. So bringing this, more innovation and investment in those regions. Also, this EU new scheme will enable EU producers to seek international protection of geographical indications which are available in the framework of the Lisbon system, so on a multilateral level under WIPO, but also under bilateral trade agreements that the Union is actually negotiating with third countries, because equally that we have agricultural GIs protected under trade agreements, we will have them for geographical indications. So opportunities to better protect our products. Equally, and it's important, this EU scheme that we are now rolling out is actually open and it's transparent for third country producers, because they are as well in a position to seek protection under this new EU scheme in the European Union, provided, of course, that the well-known craft and industrial products comply with the EU requirements. So we are now seeing a system that is open, that is transparent, that is flexible, efficient, and proportionate. And when I say also proportionate, I refer to the fees, because mirroring as well what is happening in the agricultural GI schemes, we have foreseen a system that at union level does not necessarily establish fees, except in specific cases, be it, for example, when it comes to the direct applications, I will talk about them in a minute, or, for example, in the cases of appeals on the basis of registrations decisions, which are appeals before the Board of Appeal of the EUIPO. Therefore, this is a system that is also very much SME crafted, SME friendly. And I think this is also relevant, taking into consideration who are the end users of that system, because many of the craft and industrial producers are SMEs, micro companies, artisans, etc. So important to have a system which is, proportionate, not, also not heavily in terms of administrative burden. Let me also highlight some other elements that this system is bringing. For those of you that may not know that well the system that we have established. When it comes to the examination, I think it's important to flag that the applications from producers of craft and industrial products and the registrations will be done in two stages. First, in front of the member state authority, and then only at union level. However, I mentioned already this direct application. Those member states that can prove that have little interest from the producer side to use that system, or that they have no national GI scheme or infrastructure in place, can ask the Commission for the derogation so that the applications are directly dealt then at union level only. Important to flag, and we will hear more from Jan from the EUIPO, that the union level, contrary to what we see, for example, in the area of agricultural products, when it comes to the entity in charge of the examination of the applications and also the registration at union level, will be held by the EUIP office in Alicante. And this is indeed also relevant for the WIPO Geneva Act of the Lisbon Agreement, where the EUIPO will be acting as competent authority. Now, important to flag as well that while the EUIPO will decide on the CIGI's registrations and handle the registry, the Commission is in a position under specific circumstances to decide on a GI application that may be considered as jeopardizing either the public interest or the union's trade or external relations. So Commission can always step in application procedures if conditions are met. Now, when it comes to the transparency that I was mentioning of the system that we have set up in place, I think it's relevant as well to flag that the CIGI procedure has been designed to ensure that third parties and stakeholders can always intervene during the examination, be it at national or at worldwide opposition when it comes to the union level. There will be also an advisory board that will be established by the EUIPO Management Board, composed from the Commission and also member state representatives that will be providing advice both on horizontal and also specific matters and applications, if called upon. Now, decisions taken by the EUIPO will be subject to appeals before the Board of Appeals first, and then before the Court of Justice, like for trademarks. Now, once the CIGIs are registered, public authorities will have to carry out a number of controls and checks in the markets. And it's also interesting because that's one of the novelties that the system is bringing, that producers, if member states so decide, will also be allowed to self-declare their compliance with the product specifications. Such self-declarations will need to be renewed every 3 years. Now, important as well that the regional authorities, and they will play, and we will hear later on from the Portuguese authorities, an important role. And they may even be exceptionally act as geographical indications applicants. Now, finally, I think it's important also to flag that there is a number of steps that will need to be taken from now, since the entry into force on 16 November, until the full application of the CIGI system, which is indeed foreseen for the beginning of 2026. And so that gives us enough time for the member states, EUIPO, Commission, and all the stakeholders involved to fully, be ready and prepare this application of the new system. you may have seen in the regulation that the existing national CIGIs schemes and titles will cease to exist 1 year after the date of application of the regulation, while member states will still have, of course, the possibility to inform the Commission and the European Union of those nationally protected GIs that they would want to be registered and protected at union level. And those will be treated, if I may call it, under a fast-track procedure. So that means without opposition. I hope you will all agree that all those elements are making the best of the recipe we could think of to protect our craft and industrial producers and ecosystem. And I would want to call on all of you that are listening in and that have an interest in developing further the craft and industrial products to raise awareness about this new system, to distribute further the news, and ensure that you contribute to make the system as successful and as useful as possible. In the meantime, a Commission will certainly continue working very hard to take all the necessary steps that we have to implement the regulation, adopting the necessarily implementing and delegated acts, and obviously carrying out, in coordination with the EUIPO and Member States authorities, a rich and ambitious communication campaign. And with that, I wish you a very good continuation of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, and a big congratulations on all the work being done within the Commission with these new regulations. We really appreciate it, and thank you for joining us. Just before I hand over to our keynote speaker, welcome to anybody new has joined. Please make use of the chat for questions and comments, and also let us know where you're joining in from. We'll try to address these questions at the end, depending on how much time we have. All right, thank you, Claudia. So onto our keynote speaker, which is Audrey Aubard. Audrey is an international freelance consultant specialized in territorial branding, quality scheme strategies and management, certification tools, produces organizations, and a senior level expert on IP and food law, as well as labeling issues. She's currently the manager of Aubard Consulting, an independent Bordeaux-based consultancy. She's the Secretary General of the French Federation of Industrial and Craft GIs, FFIGIA, and auditor for the French Committee for Accreditation, COFRAC. She provides assistance to countries who want to set up and manage a quality scheme system, and producers who want to promote and protect the quality of their products as a GI, such as organic farming or other labeling or branding strategies. So, Audrey, thank you for all your help and collaboration on developing this conversation. I'll leave the floor to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon to all of you. I will share my screen and my presentation. Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank the World Craft Council Europe for the invitation and the opportunity to share this very good news. Oh, sorry, I have a problem with my presentation. Okay, so I will start again. And here, okay. And I will provide you some insights concerning this this new regulation, and also the ecosystem of these new geographical indications. And first of all, I would like to congratulate and thank all the institutions, the European institutions, and all the partners that have been part in this big big adventure, as Claudia mentioned just before, but from the part of the craft makers, and I will not speak I will speak only for the French ones, but thank you very much for having been so efficient. At least we have been waiting for long to have this system in place, but since we had the green lantern from the European Commission, I think that everyone has done the maximum to provide a regulation and a legal framework for our products, so we can welcome this new regulation, and we hope the best success for everyone in the implementation of this regulation, and welcome for the new GIs. In a nutshell, I will just remind who we are for the people who don't know us. As Anna mentioned in the beginning, we have been working closely with the World Craft Council since the beginning of the negotiation of the regulation on the craft and industrial GIs. We represent the French Federation of Craft and Industrial GI. We are an association of recognized geographical indication, but also project or association under GI projects. Our main task is supporting and promoting the geographical indication for the craft and industrial sector. We are not working with the agricultural sector at all, and we are trying to develop collective approach, supporting our members, trying to provide them insight in the management of the geographical indication before the registration, but also after the registration and in the implementation of the promotion and the legal protection. So, well, we have many work to do, and we are trying to increase the awareness of our members and also from other people or group of people that could be interested in the GI for their products. So that's why we are doing within the French Federation of Craft and Industrial GIs. First of all, I would like to remind a bit about the history, about our motivations at the craft sector level that lead us to support the development and the recognition of a specific craft and industrial GI system for our products. First of all, there was something that was clear in our mind. It was that the European Union was member of international agreements. These international agreements do not make any type of difference between agricultural wine and spirits and craft product. And it was the time for the European Union to be online with the international obligations. So this was for us the basis of the endorsement of this regulation. Second reason, and very important reason, as you may know, in France, we have already a system in place for the recognition of our craft and industrial products as geographical indication, but only at national level. Most our products in France, and I know that it is the case also in other countries in Europe, are exported. National protection is too limited for us. So we needed clearly to have a wider approach on the protection of our product and the name of our product to be fully protected within the territory of the European Union, but also dreaming of having the opportunity also to have this protection that is allowed by the Geneva Act, and also maybe in the near future being part of the bilateral agreements that are negotiated by the European Union. So this is a real need that has been expressed by the craft makers and the group of craft makers of having a very efficient and protection covering, if possible, all the markets where they are exporting. And also, this is in line with what I have just said, is the fact that we see, and well, because of the COVID also and all the crises, this is the case, we may have some weakened craft sectors, and having some counterfeited product in the market, including in our market in France, coming from China or other Asian country, have impact these sectors, and there is a need now to provide them with the necessary legal tool to prevent all the counterfeiting. So there was a real need for our products to be fully protected and having the protection they deserve. So we had also other motivations beyond the international obligations or the need also for our markets at international level. Well, I'm just telling you also how we built also our history in France. We also had in mind the positive impacts of the appellation of origin or geographical indication for the agricultural sector. So the craft sector wanted to benefit from the same positive impacts in terms of having a better added value, maintaining the employment on the territory, having, well, economical development. So we are looking for the same positive impacts for the agricultural GIs. Also, as for many agricultural GIs, some of the craft and industrial production are located in rural sectors. So we are also looking for implementing GI in a frame of territorial local development that will enhance the visibility and also the efficiency of these territories. That was the second reason. Other reason, which is, well, the deep-rooted in the geographical indication issue, is the protection of intangible cultural heritage and also the skills that are there in the territories, and protecting also the communities, because there may be a slightly difference between the agricultural sector and the craft sector. We have some communities of craft makers. We have also university or specific schools in this territory that will provide the knowledge on the know-how, and that will develop the know-hows and maintaining in a sustainable way this know-how. That it was also one of the reasons. Other reason, which is very important and maybe even more important for the craft sector, is the issue, and I will come back on this, on the organization, because most of the craftsmen are alone, are working individually. Some of them do not want to share also the know-how. So there is a real issue of structuring, organizing these sectors that are not used to work all together. So it will be very interesting in this point to see how GI will provide this structuration in the future. And also there is a last reason, which is more a reason of promotion, enhancing the visibility of the products that maybe sometimes have been forgotten along the history. So it will be a real interest for them to be recognized as a geographical indication deeply rooted in their territory, and they will promote this visibility and this intangible heritage for the consumers. Another specificity I would like to share, because most of the time we make too many comparisons between agricultural GIs and craft GIs. In some aspects, I will not speak about the legal aspect, that should be the same, but in terms of sectors, we maybe are not the same. We have a diversity of skills, a diversity of know-hows, from basic skills to artistic skills. So Atelier d'Art de France, for instance, is here today. So we have a mix of different type of skill. We have also not only craft skills, we have also industrial skills, though. So we will have a mix of different types of skills that we will need to take into account. In terms of market, we have also different types of markets. We have public market, and we spoke about tourism, but also most of our craft sectors have specialized markets, public markets as well for the stones, for instance. So we need to take into account also all these specialized or professional markets that are not targeted to the public or to the consumers as such. So it is very important to have that in mind, well, to understand a little bit better the sectors we are speaking about. And also we are in sectors that develop innovation, creation, so there is also a linkage with other intellectual property rights, and we also need to take that into account, having a GI for this craft product will not mean producing as the same way as in the Middle Age, because I'm raising that because I heard a lot of time this question. So, well, we are in a world of innovation, and we do not having, well, the know-hows blocked. We need to make them moving and also being sustainable. So this is important to take these items into account. About the stakeholders, Claudia spoke about the different types of stakeholders. So there is also a little bit difference between the craft and industrial GIs and the agricultural sectors. Well, first of all, obviously we have, well, the craftsmen, the craftwomen. We have the industrial also that can be individual or organized. And as I mentioned before, in the world of the craft sector, there is, well, at least in France, there are not so many cooperatives, there are not so many organized sector when the people can meet them, and that's what we face when we started in France the GI adventure. So there is a real issue of making all the people and all the producer coming together, sharing the same strategy and accepting this GI strategy. So it may take time. It takes time in France, to be frank, but it is very helpful because being, well, all together means that also that the sector can be, well, stronger in the market. The other very important aspect we defend also together with the World Craft Council Europe is the assistance of the local authorities that can be very helpful to help the producers, to help the sectors. And we thank the European Commission, the Council and the Parliament having accepted these local authorities as potential GI applicants in the future, because we know that they will be very, very helpful to build some GIs in the future. So the main challenges of this new regulation. So I will speak about, well, the two levels of challenges from producer side and from institution sides. So, well, as we know, many craft sectors do not know about GIs. So there will be a real need of raising awareness, explanation, pedagogy to explain what is the GI tool, and also what is the content in terms of quality scheme, because, well, we will have some specifications, we will have some controls. So there is a need to explain what it is and to make the sectors accepting the rules. What I said before also is the acceptance of the collective approach in sectors where the people are used to work alone. So getting the people all together may take time, but it is very, very beneficiary to have a shared work all together to build strong sectors. And they will also have to accept to share some common conditions, being also competitors, but, well, compiling some common rules on the specifications. Also, speaking about the specifications, mean there will be some controls. The regulation provides two types of control. So there is an auto control. We disagree with that a little bit, and also the certification. But having some control in place means also explaining. We saw in France that there has been a need to explain the control, and we thank a lot the organism of certification that we are working with, that have been present with us to explain and to provide pedagogy for the producer to accept this control, which are not so heavy, which are not so costly. And I think in a conclusion, the producer are very happy to have this type of control because they help them to improve their practice within their enterprises. Then a last issue and challenge for the producer would be, I mean, our responsibilities. The main responsibilities is, well, once we have a GI and we need, or we want to have a GI recognized or registered at the EU level, we need to use it. It's not having a GI and not using it in the market. It's also having fair practices among the group of producers, and also working well with fair practices and bringing trust to the consumers, because we know in our markets, it may be the same everywhere. We have a lot of products pretending that they are coming from France, from Italy, and well, at least they are not coming from there. So GIs are here also to provide the trust and to provide the truth to the consumer, and this is something very important for the success of this tool. At the institution level, well, we have some comments, obviously. The first thing which is important is the understanding of our sectors. We are welcoming the EUIPO competency. We are very happy the EUIPO will be in charge of the recognition of the craft and industrial GIs, but please come to understand us in France, in Portugal, in Italy, because we are different from the agricultural sector. There is also, as Claudia mentioned, a need of raising awareness on CIGIs, and these raising awareness are based, well, on funds, and we will need also a political willingness at national level, but also at European level, to provide this information and to display this information, well, in all territories. Another comment, which maybe is based on the agricultural experience, is also the need of pragmatic and efficient examination. What we would like is, well, at maximum avoiding political decision. We know that there is a possibility for the EUIPO saying, well, I will not take the decision, please, DG Grow, take the decision on the recognition or the refusal of the GI. If it could be done, well, very, very few times, it would be better, because, well, there is a need to have the decision taken by the official institution, which is the EUIPO. We need also equal treatment on the applications and on the recognition, and also, if possible, no delays in instruction. We know the delays on agricultural sector, and well, at least in France, we had some very acceptable delays, and the IP office is respecting these delays. So I think it is a very good example to follow, to have, I mean, short examination time that will provide a maximum efficiency on the GI recognition. And also, at least for us, providing efficient protection tool and communication tool, because it is very important for us to have GIs that will be efficient and protect our sectors. So what I can say, well, I have not the recipe. I am not the recipe, but for me it was, well, everything is under construction. As you can say, from our side, we are very happy to have this very, very important milestone. Well, everything is under construction. What we claim is having a real partnership between public and private sector in order to build the most efficient and efficient GI for our craft and GI sectors. And what I will say, it will be both on our responsibility of producers and the European institution to have an acceptable and efficient system. What I will say as a conclusion is that you can collaborate with the French craft and industrial sector, and we will be here to share our experience, and we hope so to co-build this new system with all the partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Audrey. That was a very helpful overview of the current developments. Your insights and experience in this space are, of course, very valuable to this conversation. So thank you for sharing your knowledge. There's a lot of questions in the chat. I think this is sparking new things for people. We will try to address some of those questions a little bit later. But yes, we'd like to hear from you regarding those. So thank you so much, Audrey, and all of your collaboration and work in this space. Yes, all right. Next, we're going to hand over to Jean Rodesch. Jean is a special advisor to the executive director at the EUIPO. This is the European Union Intellectual Property Office. Jean is an EU lawyer. He has experience with various industries, including the banana industry, wine producers, and he's also had 25 years of experience in the wine and spirits sector. Currently, Jean works with startups and the EUIPO and strategic issues related to both agri and non-agri, such as handicraft geographical indications. So Jean, if you're there, I'll be sharing your slides for you.
I am.
The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. So, as was said by Rachel, I'm working for the office in charge of intellectual property, specifically on GIs, both GIs, craft and agri-GIs. So I have a short presentation. I will be very quick. Rachel, be assured. First of all, because maybe some of you are uninformed about the office, this office exists since 30 years. In fact, next year we are going to celebrate our 30 years. And we are in charge of intellectual property, which means trademark, but also design. And tomorrow it will be with geographical indication for craft. But in fact, we have also a role already in agri-GIs. And that's the next slide, slide 2, please. Which is just to say that since 4 years, sorry, we are helping the Commission, generally speaking, on several issues. GI examination, as I said, for agri files. We do what we call the pre-examination, so that the Commission will, at the end, decide if it is acceptable or not. But we do, let's say, the bureaucratic part of the examination. We have a lot of training, and I encourage you to go to our website, where you can see that we do training on all type of IP issues, and it's for free. We have an international role, and that's the Commission will ask us to be in charge of implementing, for example, trade agreement in the aspect of intellectual property. And we've put in place several IT tools about GIs. Once again, I will talk about it a little bit later, but we have a lot of tools I encourage you to discover by surfing on our website. Slide 3, please. As I said, since 2019, we have signed an agreement with the Commission in charge of agriculture, so that we do the pre-vetting or pre-examination of the files. So we are not coming out of the blue in this world of GIs. Of course, the new legislation is new for us by definition. We have to discover this world of craft and industrial GI. And that's why we are very open to suggestion and to respond to Audrey, to come in the field to discover what it is concretely a GIs in porcelain de Limoges or in Portuguese shoemakers, whatever. We have a role, as I said already, on the capacity building, and that's not only for member states at EU level, but also in third countries. And we have a role also to expand the concept of GIs on behalf of the Commission. And last but not least, we are in charge of promotion and dissemination of our experience in GI, for the time being in agri-GIs, tomorrow on craft. Slide 4, please. What we have to do in the future, in fact, it is in the legislation. So what we are going to create, it's within the office. The office is based in Alicante, and it's a huge office in the sense that we are roughly 1,200 people. And within this office, as far as today, we do not have a GI division. We are going to create this division soon. The second demand from the legislation is to create an advisory board. Member of this advisory board will be member states, and they will have a role of advising. And it's important to have advisor to be sure that we are not going to create jurisprudence without having opinion from the member states. And thirdly, we are going to create a so-called GI register, which is going to be an international one. So basically, as Claudia says, we are going to register European GIs, but also third country GIs. Next slide, to just enter into specifically the craft and industrial product. Next slide. So first of all, we have to help member states to align, if they have already a national legislation, the GI concept, the craft GI concept. So that will be part of our role to train official in this new legislation, and we are going to try to obtain a common understanding of the new legislations. That will be our role. It's also the role of course, our mother, the European Commission, the DG GROW. The second one is to put in place, as I said already, the single union GI register. As you know, we have a role if we receive a demand from registration directly from a member state who decide not to create a national agency or a point of contact. So we will have to be prepared for that, but that will be mainly for third countries who would like to protect some of the craft GIs. And finally, we have to organize the advisory board. Once again, the legislation is in force, but we wait for secondary legislation, and Claudia talked about it. And in fact, we are going to put in place all of I just described for 2026. Next slide, please. As I said, we will create an advisory board with two roles. One will be to help us to examine technical file. The other one will be more on item I can call horizontal, like helping us to decide if a given demand is responding to the qualitative aspect we would like to see in the given product we would like to be protected, or if the product has some reputation, or is there a real link between the region and the product, and also about the confusion between a given name and the trademark, a confusion vis-a-vis the consumer. So the advisory board will have a quite key role helping us to be well briefed before any decision is taken. And my final slide, if you don't mind, Rachel, it's about something you maybe have heard about. It's what we have put in place for Agri-GI, which is GI View. It's probably the most comprehensive system we have worldwide, because you have, first of all, of course, European GIs, but you have also international GIs, meaning the one from third countries, with a lot of description and also the source of information where you can eventually talk. And this GI View system is also used by the member states who is in charge of implementation and fighting against counterfeit. So it's a tool used not only for professional and member states, it's also used by police, judge, etc., to be sure that the legislation and the protection of GI is fully put in place. Final thing, I just want to add that in the plan I present to my executive director, and so it's the opinion of Jean Rodesch, not the opinion of the office so far. I've put some ideas, one of which is to organize a big conference next year and probably the year after. First of all, to explain the legislation in depth, but also to give the potential candidate for GI and those who have already a national GI recognized to explain their own experience. So it will be a conference with IP office, member states, but also professional. And of course, we will organize this with our friend from the Commission. I've suggested to my executive director to create also an informal advisory group with professional, so that we can obtain information from member states, but also from the professionals. Sometimes they do not share the same opinion. Of course, we are going to put in place a vast campaign to highlight this new legislation and the opportunity for small and medium enterprise to enter into the system. And last and not least, as I said in response to Audrey, and I think the previous executive director said that in several letters sent to him, we have the intention to suggest to our future examinators to come in the field to discover concretely what it is, a GI, how you put everything in place, how you organize yourself, to what extent we can help, etc., etc. So as a conclusion, we are in a discovering mode. Do not hesitate to contact us, to suggest us ideas, what we have to do. Contact me or directly the office. We will be more than willing to take any of your advice, experience, or ideas on board. Many thanks.
Many thanks to you, Jean. Thank you so much. It's really important to have the voice of EUIPO involved in this. I think it would be helpful for people if you could maybe put the contact details in the chat, if anybody would like to reach out regarding anything. But thank you so much for sharing this and giving us perspective. There have been many questions, so if you're able to stick around, perhaps you can answer some of these from a more legal perspective. That would be very helpful. But thank you for your talk and joining us. We really appreciate it. All right. Okay, so we've heard a lot about the legislation, about the legal context, about the new regulations. We have a lot of craftspeople with us today, and I'm sure you'd also like to hear some stories, how this can be contextualized. So we are now going to hear from Ireland, Kieran Molloy. Kieran, are you there? He is the chief executive of Molloy & Sons. Molloy & Sons weaving represents the history of the past, the ambition of the future, and the ever-present beauty of the Atlantic coast of Donegal, the home of Donegal Tweed. So Donegal Tweed is a woven tweed which is manufactured in County Donegal, Ireland. Originally all hand woven, it is now mostly machine woven and has been since the introduction of mechanized looms in the 1950s to 1960s. So I'll hand over to Kieran to talk about what they're doing at Molloy & Sons. Kieran, are you there?
Yeah, but my video is blocked at the minute. I can't turn. Oh, it's there.
Are you able to? Okay.
Yeah.
And if you can share your screen if you have some slides.
Well. This one.
Thank you, Kieran.
Sorry a minute. Okay, is that working now?
That looks perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Grant. So my name's Kieran Molloy. I run Molloy & Sons Weaving Limited with my father Sean. We're like a small, we're a small family-run business. There's only 5 of us in the company: myself, my mom, my dad, one of my uncles, one of my aunts, and we make Donegal tweed and sell it around the world. We're a 6th generation business, so I'm the 6th generation. The first 2 generations would have been hand weaving and selling to the local area and around Ireland. And then my great-grandfather and great-granduncle would have started exporting Donegal tweed once Ireland became a free state in the 1920s. And they would have, like in 1923, they would have opened a showroom on 5th Avenue in New York and at the corner of 5th Avenue and like Bryant Park beside the public library. And they had a warehouse in the meatpacking district and would have been over and back to New York 3 or 4 times a year. And that would have been selling fabric mostly for menswear tailoring. And then that business carried on until around the 50s. So it hasn't all been one single business. There's been a lot of different businesses over the time. My grandfather would have started his business in the 50s. And again, he was selling fabrics. and exporting to the US, to the rest of Europe, to the UK, and would have gone to like Japan for the first time in the 60s. And he might have had maybe like 30 to 40 people weaving for him. That was all hand woven up until the, let's say, early 80s. They would have changed from wooden hand looms over to daub cross looms, which are like mechanized shuttle looms. And then they would have changed to like rapier looms, so power looms in the like late 80s, early 90s. So my dad would have worked for that company, and then around 2010, myself and my father set up Molloy & Sons as a separate business, and we focus on producing Donegal tweed. And sorry, I should have gone on to that other slide there, and focus on Donegal tweed, and we also make accessories, so like scarves and blankets. But probably 80% of our work is fabric that we're selling mostly to menswear businesses, and it's we export to the US, to Italy, to Japan, Korea, a little bit to China, France, Italy, and UK. So that's most of our kind of business to market in that. And so then, where is Donegal? So Donegal, it's in the northwest corner of Ireland on the Atlantic coast. And so the whole region is Donegal. There is a town called Donegal Town also, but the whole region is Donegal. Then what is Donegal tweed? So Donegal tweed is a woolen fabric or woolen spun yarn woven into a fabric, and the little neps, those spots or flecks of color, that's what the defining characteristic of Donegal tweed is. And that's what's like synonymous with Donegal tweed when somebody thinks of it. When they talk about it, it's those flecks that they're referring to, those little dots of color. So we can produce yarns especially for people with their own spots, or we have our own ranges of yarns that then we weave into different fabrics. So there's like plain weaves or herringbones or different checks or different twill patterns. So like it's quite diverse. There isn't like a very strict definition of pattern or weave or weight. So there could be like a lightweight for a suit or like a really heavyweight for overcoat. But we're mostly focused on fashion market. So that's mostly menswear and a little bit to women's wear. We're probably trying to expand a bit more into women's wear, but at the minute it's probably like 90% menswear that our fabrics go into. So then again, there is no strict definition of Donegal tweed at the minute. Between all the producers, like we each have our own focus, our own like style, but also maybe some are focused more on weaving accessories, so like scarves and blankets, and or selling direct in the retail stores, whereas we're mostly selling fabric and also the blankets and accessories, but that's predominantly wholesale. We're not like, maybe we've like 2 or 3% of our business is direct to consumer. Like it's a very small part. Then there's McGee's. So sorry, I forgot to say, we've set up an association between the members. These are the different weavers that are in Donegal at the minute, and this is based on there was an association in the 50s, and this is the original members that were part of that association. That was called the Donegal Handwoven Tweed Association, and its goal was to promote Donegal tweed, but mostly there was a tariff on fabrics going into America, and they were trying to get Donegal tweed, as it was mostly handwoven at that stage, to be able to be tariff-free going into the US. So they set up an association to help promote and push that. So we have basically taken that association, carried on until like maybe the 90s, early 2000s, it kind of fizzled out. So we've kind of rekindled that association again in the kind of pursuit of trying to get a PGI for Donegal tweed. So we've been working together as a group, and trying to come up with a definition of what Donegal Tweed is, because again, as I said, there was no like strict definition. It's just like people think of it, there's NEPs, but what really is it? So we've been working together to figure out those the kind of little details that need to be considered if we're going for to apply for a PGI. So because all the companies previously were, yes, we're all selling Donegal Tweed, but we're all marketing our own brands and we're selling Donegal Tweed, and we each have our different products. So now we're trying to like work together a little bit more, and if we get the PGI status, that we can figure out how we actually promote Donegal Tweed together as opposed to all separately, that we have kind of a coherent message that we're sending out to the world. And then like to figure out what are the rules about making the fabric, what production stages have to happen within County Donegal, what materials can it be made from, all those little bits. And we're getting on relatively well at that, and we're hoping that we can basically be one of the first applications to make an application for PGI, which would be, yeah, very helpful if we can get that over the line. So this is like from the I think it was on LinkedIn last week, just a little link of the different PGI possibilities. So I just stuck in the Donegal Tweed so you have an idea of where we are. Yeah, for us as a group, the what would you say, the main goal of getting the PGI is, at the minute, like it's quite a small industry, and there's like, when you look around the global fashion industry, there's an awful lot of descriptions that people are selling fabric or garments made from Donegal Tweed, whereas it's not actually coming from any mills in Donegal. They're using it as maybe a generic term for a style of fabric. And also then there could be knitwear companies that are saying their knitwear is Donegal Tweed knitwear. Just because it has a fleck in it, they're using that as a generic term for it, as opposed to being a woven fabric coming from County Donegal like it would have originally been. So we're hoping that that will reduce, if it does get PGI status, that it will reduce that amount of copywriting. And when people are buying a product that is Donegal Tweed, that they know that it's actually coming from Donegal. In the same way, like there's Harris Tweed, it comes from the Isles of Harris and Lewis in Scotland, and there's an Act of Parliament and a trademark, and that's who they enforce it, so that people know when they're buying Harris Tweed, it is coming from there. Whereas for Donegal, there is no, like currently, there is no protection to do with that. And it's kind of, it's always this point when we're trying to sell our fabric to companies, they're like, well, what's the difference between us and like this other NEP fabric that's coming from China? And you're like, you're trying to explain the heritage, the provenance, the story, the history, and you're hoping that people will appreciate that. And then sometimes they see a garment and it says Donegal Tweed in the description, but there's no way of knowing, for a customer, there's no way of knowing that it's coming from us, or it's coming from a mill in China, or it could be from somebody in Italy or Portugal or France, or like there's a lot of, or UK, there's a lot of other fabric mills that are making their ranges of fabrics that are described as Donegal Tweed. It might be a small percentage of what they're doing, but it's still like, basically it's trading on the products they're trading as Donegal Tweed. And we're hoping that the PGI will allow us to like have a bit more control over the name, and the customers will have a bit more confidence in the end product, what they're buying, that it is really a fabric from our region. Yeah. So that's kind of about all that I have to say. I'd be open to questions if people have any afterwards. And yeah, just thanks to all the other speakers. And yeah, it's very interesting so far. Thanks.
It was very interesting indeed, Kieran. Thank you so much. It's really good to hear the story of the heritage of Donegal Tweed and what this means for the producers in your region, especially in the context that the GI is not there yet, that you will potentially apply for it when it's ready. But yes, it adds a lot of context for those who are also considering for the future how this may look. So thank you so much for sharing your story and for being here with us today. If you can just stop sharing your screen, we'll have our next speaker. This is Nuno Rodrigues. Nuno is the head of the municipal unit of the tourism office, including crafts in the municipality of Barcelos in Portugal. So some of you may know that Portugal has a national system for craft GIs already, and Barcelos is an example of one of these. So Nuno, if you are ready, we're very interested to hear about this and how this is operating within your region. Are you there? Nuno, are you there?
Yes, you have to the camera.
Yes, just try to share your video if you can. Wonderful, we see you.
Just a moment. It's okay?
Yes, it's starting. Just give it a second. Yes, we see it. If you can just enter the full screen mode, we can see your screen. Thank you, Nuno. The floor is yours.
Just a moment. Okay, I'm afraid it's okay. Okay, is everything okay? You see very well the screen?
Yes, it looks perfect. Thank you.
Okay, let's go. Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure for us sharing our small experience. We are a small city in the north of Portugal, but we work in the GAs. We have 3 GAs, and I will try to make a small resume about our way of strategy for the GAs in the last 20 years. Okay, Barcelos built around the tradition in crafts and folk arts, and made the behavior story and the imitation of great social value. Our creativity, or the creativity of our people, is well reflected in the craftsmanship work in various arts, such as clay, pottery and imagery, embroidery, even wood, iron, literature, wicker, and in the contemporary arts. We have lots of arts. Among the various handicraft productions that we have here, we have to stand out the worldly famous Gallo Barcelos ceramic booth. Every people knows this symbol of the Portugal, the most typical souvenir, and for many a good workshop too. It's born here in Barcelos and it's very, very known. But we have all these arts, but in the years 18th and 19th, the last century, we have lots of technology and political, economic and cultural exchange made the world more interconnected place, leading to the consumers awareness about the importance of the endemic production. The globalization, it was for us a problem in the traditional arts. Asian products affect the pottery productions of Barcelos and even our symbol, the roasted Barcelos. Naturally, we have to react to this situation, because the quality image of our productions was being affected. We defined for that strategies for visibility, and naturally the GAs was an important step. However, the fact that at the time there was still no legal regulation here in Portugal about that. It was a problem, but we decided this is the way. In the certification process, we never did anything without the involvement of the creative community, the artisans. Naturally, we have resistance because our people work alone. Is very good in the arts, but don't have
Nuno?
accessibility to other.
Nuno, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Nuno, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. The sound quality is very bad. We can't hear you so well. Perhaps you can speak a bit closer to your computer, just because there's a lot of echo in the room. If you can come a bit closer, maybe to your microphone, we can hear you better.
Okay. And now?
Maybe a bit closer. It's, I think, because you're in a hallway. It's quite noisy.
But you want and now.
That's better. That's better. Also, if you need to change the slides, we don't see the slides changing. It's still on the first one. Sorry to interrupt you. Please carry on. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's let me see. As I tell, in the certification process, we never did anything without the involvement of the creative community. We have resistance because they work alone. They don't have a vision about the global market. But our vision is always manages to show that we are facing a new reality where we have to create mechanisms to value them, to train them, to prepare them for the new paradigms of the global market. As in the second slide, I told about that. Naturally, we are committed to differentiation through the quality and make then the craft a cultural product of excellence. We have to show we were working together for its sustainability. Craft after the strategy, craftsmanship activity became a more value than before. In Portugal appears specific laws in the beginning of the last century for crafts, like statute of the artisan and craft production units, leading naturally by national organisms like PPA. Now the name is SEAT. We have here Cristina. In consequence of this process, in 2008, pottery, this you could see here in the slide, pottery, our pottery. It is a production with lots of story here in Barcelos. And Tweed figurine, it is a subsidiary production from the pottery, became national certified productions. But just in 2015 was established a national qualification and certification system for traditional crafts production in Portugal by the degree law. But we start recently in 2019, we have another production certificate, the Quiver embroidery of San Miguel da Carreira. Is a small production, nothing like our pottery or our clay figurine, but is a typical production here in Barcelos. all this production, all these GAs are very important for our territory. Certification, certified production, and the creative communities are all the differentiating factor in our work and are involved in all moments of cultural life and in the promotion of our city. This is fundamental for our strategies. Keep these arts in the main point in the whole things that we done to promote our city. Imagine crafts and folk arts made Barcelos a creative city that became member of UNESCO World Network of Creative Cities in 2017. But I have to tell you something very important. It is a topic that is still little explored. GAs, it is a topic that is still little explored in this global network. In Europe, it is a growing reality, but there are countries that still not discuss this issue. This meeting could be a good way for new reality. We think it's needed more collaboration between a network like UNESCO Creative City in the cluster of arts and folk arts with the GAs, because in Europe we talk about that, but in the world the discussion is very low. It is a simple advice, but we think it's very important. After the pandemic, we feel that local crafts and folk arts are more valorized for the market. In our opinion, represent an opportunity for local sustainable and development, with the emergence of new artisans and the growing of the tourism crafts experiences related activities. I talk about this slide, yeah.
Nuno, if you can try to summarize and wrap up soon. Also, we still can't hear very well. It's very echoey. So if you can try to summarize a bit, or else I don't know if it's possible for you to move to a different space. But we can't hear so much from you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, you don't get it. Okay, thanks.
We hear you, but there's a big echo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will try.
We can hear you speaking, but there's a big echo in the room, so it's quite difficult to hear what you're saying. Maybe you can just summarize the key points.
I will try to change the place, because the place is very short, probably. Okay. For that.
I tell you what, if we can just take, maybe you can stop sharing your screen, and we'll maybe respond to one or two questions from the audience while you just find a new space, and then you can finish your talk. But if you can maybe rejoin us in a few minutes. So sorry for that. We can barely hear what you're saying. Okay, thank you. All right. There's been many questions in the chat, so thank you so much to everybody. Our Secretary General, Laura Miguel Baumann, is with us, and she's been kind of monitoring these questions. I think we can maybe have time for one question before we hand over to Nuno again when he's found a different space. Laura, are you there? Is there an interesting hello? Nice to see you. Is there a question that we can respond to from the chat?
Yeah, well. Thank you very much to all of you for your interventions. I think it's has been a very interesting evening listening to all of you. If you want to switch on your cameras, I'm going to share the questions with you. There have been a lot of interactions in the chat. Many people thanking you for your presentations and clarifying this new concept for us. We know that this is new, although Cristina told us, Claudia told us that they were working already for 30 years in this, but it's quite new and we still have 2 years to implement everything. So this is going to be really challenging. And I know that the craft sector wants to be involved, and they are having some questions about it, some really practical questions. I'm going to launch the first one, and just feel free to turn on your micro and answer if you know the answer. So I will start. Someone was asking who enforces the legislation at member state level, and who can report a counterfeit product that uses a PGA name. So is someone willing to answer? Audrey.
I will. I will, because we have the experience now in France. So in terms of enforcement, normally we are, well, who enforce? First of all, it is the group of producers. So most of the time, this is the group of producer who is, well, understanding what is happening, having the information, and then based on the different types of tools provided by the national legal framework, we can work with the customs. The customs are very, very efficient in order to identify and block the counterfeited products. But from now, only the one who are coming into France. There is also the departments of fraud, of consumer protection also, that can help. And then there are all the legal tools at civil or penal level that can be implemented by the group of producers. What we didn't speak about is normally with the GI system, we have an ex officio protection, meaning that the public authorities may implement directly the protection of the geographical indication when they identify some counterfeited products. So this is something which is very important for us and which is working at the moment from our experience in France.
Okay, thank you very much. In this sense, someone is asking also about the penalties. I don't know if they are established already or if they are going to look at the agricultural products. Do you know anything about this?
From the experience now, if I'm not misunderstood, the penalties are defined at national level. So there will be a need to have a special law or decree at national level that will define the amount. In France, we have penalties and also jail. Counterfeited product, well, the sanction can go until the jail, but this is defined at a national level.
Okay. And I think there is another question that maybe you can answer as well, or someone else if you want. It's about, they are asking who is creating those GIs, the producers or the country? I think you explained that a little bit before, but maybe you can go into detail.
Claudia, I don't know if you want.
Maybe Claudia, yeah.
Or Cristina, or I don't know, but well.
Yeah, thank you. No, first, also to complement Audrey's replies on the previous question, certainly penalties will have to be foreseen if they are not yet foreseen in the national legislation, because we want to ensure that there are deterrent penalties, not only for those that are, for example, introducing fraudulent or counterfeited products using the protected name, but also for those that are using the logo that are actually producing in the region that they self-declare and actually are not complying with the product specifications. So, for example, in that context, there would need to be as well fines. And also in terms of enforcement, Audrey has mentioned first is the producers themselves, but also not only the European the consumers authorities, but also the market surveillance authorities, the customs authorities, even police at some point, if they are detecting products will need to have capacity, and that will be decided by each national authority. But each member state will decide who is their enforcement authority. Now, the geographical indications titles, if one may call it that way, they are as such applied by the producers. So the producers are actually the ones producing this products that will be protected, and this is open. This is an open geographical indication that any producer will be able to use and apply as long as it complies with the product specifications that are also being presented and applied. Then, of course, there is the possibility for the regions, for example, or for other authorities, public authorities, not only to support the producers in their applications, but also actually to make the application in cases where there is indeed a need for different reasons that then will present the application. But this is in principle of exceptional nature. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Claudia. Regarding the sanctions, Julia Cherrier from Atelier d'Art de France wrote in the chat that we should see or look up Article 61 of the new regulation. Thank you, Julie, for this hint. Continuing with some questions, someone said, as pointed out in Audrey's presentation, most of the craft sector is run by individuals. How will the cost of certification impact them, and how much will it cost? So does anyone, I know that it will be a national level, but maybe do you have any answer on that, Audrey?
Yes, we have maybe also Cristina may have some experience on that in Portugal, because we are working the same way. Well, in France, we are working with certification bodies. At the moment, there are 2 certification bodies that are certifying the GI. We have undertaken a deep work with the certification body. There is one here in the meeting, discussing on the possibility not having too much cost, heavy cost for the producers. Thanks to Certipac and also Bureau Veritas, we could face this challenge. And at the moment, we have, in terms of frequencies, from 3 to 1 year. Audits, and if I'm not misunderstood, the most expensive audits will be around 700 or 800 euros, and every 2 years. So I think that thanks to the work and the proposal done by the certification bodies, we have affordable cost for the certification, and we have a certification, official certification with a quality scheme that will be useful also for the enterprises. So I think in the setting up of the system, I really recommend all the countries, the producers, to have this type of discussions with the certification body in order to build a win-win approach and having affordable costs for the producers.
Yeah, if I may add to this, I think this is something that they should do together. The regions, the countries, the associations, the crafts people. So this could be also a shared cost, because it's in the interest of all of them to protect their own products and to recognize them. I know that we are out of time, but I'm going to ask you a few more questions, if you don't mind. Rachel, do you allow me, please?
Yes, we also just want to hear a last word from Nuno, because he was cut off.
Okay.
So maybe just wrap up with the questions, and then he can give a final summary. Okay.
Okay, great. So Cristina Mendes from CEART in Portugal was writing on the chat the situation in Portugal, and I have one question for you. And is it, does Portugal have a law for the protection of craft GIs?
Yes, I put it in the chat. I put it for the Portuguese participants. But in Portugal, we have a national system for the certification of traditional productions, and in the end of this process, this enables this production to be registered as a geographical indication in Portugal and have the protection at the national level, and it will enable all these productions to profit now in a more quick way, the access to the European GI system. So it is a system that we have a specific law that states all the process that the producers or the municipalities that want to apply for a GI to fulfill. And we also have an obligation in Portugal that was what Audrey was talking about, that these owners of the GIs must have a certification body. In Portugal, for the moment, we only have one certification body that is at the moment certifying all the productions. I cannot speak about the prices of the certification body, the cost of the certification body. Maybe Nuno could tell something about it, but the previous process of the recognition of the traditional production is free, because it's a public system, so the producers or the municipalities apply to the system, and it's free. It's not to, you just have to pay the registers at the EUIPO, at the intellectual, the INPI.
Thank you very much, Cristina. Someone was asking also if there is a database where we can find the already registered EGs in the different countries. And we have, if you follow the chat, there is an answer from someone from Origin saying that there is a website when they have a worldwide compilation. So you can find it on the chat, the link. And I know we are running out of time. Just one last question is about this protection. How does it live together with other protections like the ones from UNESCO, who are already protecting like the intangible heritage? Do you think they can live together, and how they convivir, how they live together? Does someone want to?
Yeah, we had the case for Aubusson Tapestry in France, that there was a UNESCO protection or label before the GI. To be frank, in the drafting of the specification, we took into account what was written in the UNESCO declaration for the tapestry. However, I have to be clear, there is no real connection. Both are living in parallel, and maybe there could be more things to do in order to provide interconnection of these two systems that are now targeting the same approach. GI is an intellectual property tool. UNESCO protects a know-how, an intangible element, but it's not the same. So the coverage are slightly different, but I think that there will be some connections to be think about.
Okay, thank you very much, Audrey. So I know that this topic has risen a lot of questions. This was just a starting point that we wanted to offer you from Workers' Council Europe to make a first introduction to this topic. We try to have a variety of speakers that could give you an insight into this. As said in the beginning, this is just the first step. Now we have the law. Now we have still 2 years to implement, to think how we are going to do this, how the member states are going to do that. how the craftspeople can intervene and participate and prepare for the first applications. So I know there are many questions left there, and we don't want to stop it here. This was, as I said, our first step. We are going to continue the debate. We are going to try to compile all the information in our website. Not now, because we are changing our website, but in our future website that I expect that we can launch it at the beginning of next year, we are going to summarize all the information that we can get from all of you, the information that was proposed in the chat. And I hope that we can continue the debate, and we will try to arrange another webinar on this because yeah, there is still much to discuss and many questions have arisen today, and they will be continue. So I will hand over to Rachel to wrap up with Nuno, I guess. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you everyone for your questions. Nuno, we just have 1 or 2 minutes. It will just be good to hear if you have just a final summary or some words to say, but we don't have much time. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I don't, you hear me very well or not?
The sound is better, but just 1 or 2 minutes, Nuno, because we out of time. So just to conclude what you were talking about.
No, to conclude, I have to say that the EGS is very important. It's very important for preserve the quality of the arts, our local arts, and it is very important. It's very important. They need their protection. It's very important. The European protections. Nobody can work alone. We have to join our knowledge and try to talk with another institutions like UNESCO. I know UNESCO works in another places, but we have to talk with UNESCO and with the global networks like UNESCO network of crafts and folk arts, try to do something together to implement, to dynamize this question of GAs, because GAs is for the market something very important for guaranteed quality of the products, to guarantee the real value for money for our arts, for our products. This is our strategy. Work together with the producers, work together with the main actors of the market, and together try to implement strategies for valorizing the producers and keep the quality and the identity of our arts, of our products.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nuno. I'm so sorry for earlier, but we'd love to have you back in another webinar when we can have better sound and we can hear more clearly the story of Barcelos. But thank you for rejoining us. And the key message there, I think, was really about collaboration and working together as these developments evolve. So thank you so much to everybody for joining us. It's been fantastic to see people from all over Europe and the world joining us in this important topic. We really value your interest and we look forward to taking the conversation further. Our immense gratitude and thanks to all of our speakers today, to Claudia, Audrey, Jean, Kieran and Nuno. We really appreciate you contributing your expertise. It really helps the community and the network to understand and take the conversation forward. So thank you so much. This brings the webinar to a close. Have a lovely evening. You can find the recording on YouTube in a week or two on our YouTube channel, and visit our website to sign up for our newsletter. So thank you for joining us and good night.